add a couple of items and just
Oh, yeah,
move a
sorry,
couple
motion
of
to add
items?
items.
Okay. A motion to add on the consent calendar communication from Scott Avedisian, CEO of RIPTA, about Route 64 and 68. Motion, that would be a motion to receive.
Second.
Comments or questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Also, motion to move item number 13, ad hoc bridge realignment property advisory commission update, to after the consent calendar. Do I have?
Any comments or questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So we have some nice business to start with this evening.
In her role, she implements the children's curriculum based on knowledge and development and works with a range of diverse families. She's also mentored not only children, but also future teachers as well. And so, anyway, Valencia has been a part of the MLK team for the past 28 years and has worked in various educational programs, after schools, Spark PE teacher, summer art teacher, and before school programming. She has earned her associates in arts and high honors from the Community College of Rhode Island. Valencia is currently attending Fisher College in Boston, Massachusetts for education. She will be graduating with her bachelor's in education as of May 2024. Valencia, again, has served many families and children in her community and has also tutored many bilingual children to strengthen their English concepts. She continues to strive to make sure all children are successful upon entering kindergarten. She is a wife, mother, and grandmother of 2. When Valencia is not working with children, she enjoys ministering in dance, writing children's books, mentoring young women, and spending time with her family. Thank you so much, Valencia. Next, we want to honor Maria Colon. Maria is a trailblazer and a star because she has beaten the statistical odds as a teen parent of 4. She proudly walked across the stage of Rogers High School while her youngest was just 2 weeks old. Maria fought and worked hard, eventually earning her degree from the Community College of Rhode Island, where she studied social work in addition to earning her credentialing of family development from Salve Regina University. And early on, Maria served as a parent volunteer with Early Head Start, and thereafter was offered a position as a teacher in the preschool community for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center, where she remained for over 8 years. Maria Maria was one of the lead teachers to participate in the development of the Rhode Island Early Learning Standards. In addition to her love for children, Maria studied geriatrics care, where she also worked caring and advocating for the elderly, as well as supporting her family during the 10 years at the John Clark Retirement Center in Middletown, Rhode Island. Maria was often referred to as the unofficial counselor to coworkers and residents alike due to her calming nature, sincere heart, and compassion for the broken. Later, Maria obtained her Rhode Island licensure as a massage therapist, where she continues to use her heart and skill to aid healing processes to many. Maria is the proud owner and operator, and I think the only Black female that is an operator, business owner in the massage therapy sector, as her business is called Spa Newport, which is a therapeutic and wellness company located right here in Newport, Rhode Island. And in addition to serving various boards and groups throughout her career in Newport, Maria admits her faith in God has played a pivotal role in her journey, as well as a consistent support and love for her 4 children, grandchildren, family, and friends. Maria, we thank you for your ongoing contributions to Newport County. And last but certainly not least is Letitia Michelle. Today, we recognize Newport resident and Newport native Letitia Michelle. Letitia is a dedicated wife and mother of 6. Letitia is a community health worker, a certified lactation consultant, a childbirth educator, maternal and child health specialist, a Rhode Island certified perinatal doula, and founder of the Ready, Set, Latch, Go. Letitia has played a lead role in implementing, organizing, and facilitating the initiative of the Collective of Phenomenal Women, the Peer Health Advocates Training, the Breastfeeding for Women of Color group, and the annual Newport Community Baby Shower, just to name a few. As Letitia's journey involves a commitment to fostering health equity and devising innovative strategies to enhance the well-beings of families in the north end of Newport. Letitia continues to enhance the well-being of families as she works now as a partner with the Newport Health Equity Zone. Letitia is actually the first Black Rhode Island certified perinatal doula and the first in Newport. Letitia's passion for becoming a doula stems from her own personal experience as a Black birthing person, and her vast history in supporting her families and friends over the past 24 years. And so, acknowledging the work ahead, Letitia strives to amplify awareness, challenge systemic disparities, and champion policy changes to ensure that every Black birthing mother receives the care, respect, and support they deserve. Her advocacy extends beyond individual care. Letitia, amongst many, also championed the work that gained passage to the Rhode Island Doula Bill of 2021. Ensuring that doula care is covered by insurance, increasing access for families, and providing a better pathway for fair wages for doulas. In Letitia's multifaceted role, from the community health worker to the first Black Rhode Island certified perinatal doula, she weaves a cohesive narrative of support and advocacy. So whether as a community healthcare worker or doula, Letitia provides education, support, and navigation to the resources on individual needs. Letitia's services as a community health worker and doula are independent and both covered by insurance. Letitia offers prenatal, childbirth education classes, prenatal care, childbirth education classes, birth and labor support, lactation education, infant care, and postpartum support. Letitia's support can be received in person at her private office at the individual's place of comfort or virtually. As a community care healthcare worker, she leads with her lived experience and training to serve each individual by helping them navigate the resources and the services warranted based on the individual's expressed needs. So tonight we honor Letitia. Okay. I would just like to take a minute. Can I just pass it out for Women's Month? So if we can, just have the recipients stand right here.
Sure.
Okay, so lots to celebrate too. So tonight, I also want to recognize a very special guest that came straight from Tampa, Florida, but is a generational Newporter here. So Aaron Jarrell Grimes Hampton, also known professionally as Jarrell Grimes, is the first 21st century award-winning Black author from Newport, Rhode Island. His educational journey is a testament to his commitment to personal growth, marked by his studies in elementary education, psychology, and creative writing at esteemed institutions such as Roger Williams University and Southern New Hampshire University. Further enriching his skills, Jarrell earned a diploma in freelance writing from Penn Foster Career School, laying the groundwork for his future literary endeavors. Jarrell's literary career began with the publication of his first book, True Emotions of a Man, The Boy, the Man, and His God in 2009. His subsequent work, including Confessions of a Nice Guy and True Emotions of a Man, Rewind and Fast Forward, further cemented his reputation as a profound voice in poetry and storytelling. And his debut memoir, Black Boys Don't Speak, not only garnered critical acclaim, but also earned him the Presidential Bronze Medal from the Florida Authors and Publishers Association. Jarrell is also a hip hop artist and an entrepreneur, inspired by his father's aspirations in the music industry and his grandfather's entrepreneurial spirit. Jarrell has always been driven by a legacy of creativity and self-determination. And since 2014, Jarrell has released several musical compilations and singles in various genres, including hip hop and spoken word. And more recently, Jarrell Grimes' single "Shut It Down, Set It Off" was featured in the main track song for Tampa Bay Underground Film Festival, nominated indie horror film Sammy Slick and Vampire Slayer. And so Jarrell is also credited as an associate producer of the film as well, marking his entrance into the film world. And although Jarrell now lives in Tampa, Jarrell always credits his influence and inspiration to growing up in Newport. Jarrell will also be speaking tonight at Salve Regina University, and we on the city of Newport wanted to recognize his work and honor his achievements. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor McCall. Anybody signed up for the citizens forum this evening?
Okay.
The consent calendar?
Yes, motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety with the exceptions of J and K. Is that correct?
Second,
And,
M.
oh, and M.
second.
Any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilor Carlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding item 1L, the communication from Rebecca Bolin and Louisa Boatwright, co-chairs of
Oh.
the school building committee,
Did you want to,
regarding the timeline for the soil stockpile. I would just like to discuss that item.
okay,
Want to pull it?
so,
Well,
well, we have to, and
we'd
to
have to
discuss
pull
it,
it.
we have to pull it, so.
Okay.
All right, so,
I'm-
so we're gonna pull
Move to pull a list.
J,
Move to pull,
K, L, and M.
Second.
Comments or questions? All's in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Motion's carried. So this brings us to item J.
yes. Motion, to receive a communication from John Erickson, petition to allow the use of cobblestone granite gravel as an apron to abut City of Newport streets. Do I have a second to receive?
Second,
Councilor Romley, I know we both received some communication on this. Do you want to start?
Are we discussing this?
Yeah.
Item now? Okay. Yes, this is, I've been a big proponent of homeowners' rights since joining this council. And this is one of those issues where these types of cobblestone driveways are very common in many parts of the city. And I know it breeds resentment from our residents when some people get to have something and others don't. This is something that I want to support as fully as I can, because this gentleman who put this petition in sent in a bunch of photos to some of us here on council, and photos of houses and areas with cobblestone driveways that go right to the street. One of those photos was my house. Okay. And as a city councilor, I will not enjoy an amenity in my house without fighting to make sure that everybody else can enjoy that same amenity. I would view it as hypocritical. I did not put it in myself. It was part of the home when I purchased it. But on the topic of this, I do understand there are ADA drivers. But what I would like to understand from the administration, when do those have to apply? It seems to me if there is not a sidewalk there, and it is a driveway apron that just goes to the road, that ADA shouldn't apply because there is no sidewalk. There is grass, there is gravel, there is unfinished land. What is the driver behind this, and can we hear a short background on what the administration has changed in how it's been enforcing this issue?
We have Bill Boardman here from the administration.
Just,
Hi, Bill Boardman, City. Good evening, everybody. So the City of Newport is doing our best to make our sidewalks and our roadways accessible for all. And in doing so, we must comply with the Department of Justice's federal regulations, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 90. And with that, in those regulations, they require certain slopes and materials be used. And so in doing so, we do our very best. However, we run into problems. We run into problems with people, with owners, I should say, property owners, who, through no fault of their own, their houses were built prior to them owning it. Their sidewalks were built in such a way that it makes it technically infeasible, impossible to make those sidewalks handicap accessible because of past practices. And in particular, you might, like Warner Street, very narrow street, very narrow sidewalks. Some of those driveways go up and up. the sidewalks are not accessible. So we do our very best to try and make them accessible. But sometimes to do that, we would have to reconstruct their entire driveway, build new stairs onto the home, new walls, and just frankly, the cost would just be prohibitive. Others put in these beautiful driveways, again, without consideration for what will be coming with the new sidewalk and our requirements as a city, as a government, to make these things accessible to all people. So we do encourage all people, all owners, but especially those contractors who are not familiar with the federal laws. And we try our best to educate those folks about how to best construct not only public improvements, but also private improvements and how they interface with our public improvements to try and make it possible to make all our roadways, all our sidewalks, all our facilities handicap accessible. So with respect to this particular issue, we encourage people to use not only the correct slopes and requirements, even though there are no sidewalks, maybe there will be in the future. We are planning some new sidewalks in town. There are no sidewalks there today. It's just in the development phase right now. But if this isn't taken into consideration as people put in new driveways, it may make it impossible for us. So we do educate people. We try and encourage people to our best of our ability. And so as far as cobblestones go, there is a requirement for the materials, again, for sidewalks, to be not too rough, not to have gaps where people can trip and fall. And where there are no sidewalks, again, we try and encourage people to use the materials that are compliant. However, if they do so choose to use Belgian blocks, which we do allow, we ask that the contractor handpick those out, try and get the smooth ones, and put them close together to try their best to make something that may be accessible, so that if and when sometime in the future, 10, 20, 30 years from now, there is a need for a sidewalk, or perhaps someone is just walking their dog along the grass shoulder or wants to get out of the traffic, that they have a safe refuge for people to get up on. And so we do our best. I understand there's a lot of driveways, a lot of things in our right of way that do not comply. But we try and do our best when new construction comes forward to educate and do our best to make the city safer, make it compliant, and to make it accessible for all.
Thank you. Very helpful. If I can drill down a little bit with just a few more details. So in understanding the requirements, it's clear to me that a property owner should not be chopping up a sidewalk for a cobblestone driveway. And that a pre-existing sidewalk should never have to cross over somebody's rough cobblestones for ADA purposes. That makes common sense. I agree with it. And I wouldn't vote any other way on that issue. But in the absence of sidewalks, and I do believe folks that are putting in new driveways with cobblestones, they're not in downtown, right? That's the outskirts of the city. You know, that's the R60s, R120s, R160s. It's the open areas of the city, which continue to be developed. And so we see those don't have sidewalks. And so does the regulation require an ADA compatible surface where there is no sidewalk to begin with, and it's just simply, grass or gravel or something else?
Simple answer is no.
Okay.
And we do not require it. But
Have
we encourage.
You encourage, and during that encouragement, I assume you're sharing with the property owners that they are at risk if they put cobblestones to the street, that those will be chopped up someday and replaced with a sidewalk if a sidewalk shows up.
I don't know that particular.
Which is a feasible thing to
we-
do. Yeah.
Say, if we can, use something that's compliant that certainly is benefit for all. Because we hate to go in there and try and after the fact, rip up someone's beautiful driveway when we have to go and make it ADA accessible.
Right.
It really does, it's just, it's not good.
So if it is not a requirement where no sidewalk exists, I'm actually okay. So that that's new information for me, and I was under the impression that folks were having to put in asphalt, in the right of way area, even if there was no sidewalk there, which to me doesn't make sense. And if we're not doing that, I think I have no objection to our current policy.
So that's interesting. Another thing we try to encourage is a separate federal Clean Water Act. I think it was 1972 is the Clean Water Act, and phase 2 stormwater. And that has to deal with the transportation of sediment into our stormwater system. And we trying to limit the amount of loose material that gets into our gutter, into our drains. And that small particulate matter not only fills up our drains and the sumps that are collecting all this junk, but also that those particulates will carry pathogens, fecal coliform and other things on that into our bay. And so if we can limit that and try and minimize the amount of material, so a loose gravel driveway, limit that getting out to the roadway and causing issues with our stormwater and our bay, we try to encourage that also. And by doing so, we encourage paving a certain portion of our right of way to help that.
Thank you so much. One more sidebar comment, or not really a question, but a comment. Is the city selective when it comes to sidewalk ADA issues? And so this is a clear and obvious one. And I'm a big supporter of the outdoors and tree canopies and greenery and everything the Tree Commission does. I'm thankful we have them. But what about our sidewalks where the tree is completely grown through the sidewalk and that sidewalk is no longer ADA compliant? What about situations like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a huge challenge for us. Yeah, so we have we do our best and work with the tree warden and tree board to look at those issues. A great example of this is just across the street here on Dr. Wheatland Boulevard, and it's Edwards Street parking lot. There were 2 trees right in that driveway, the sidewalk lifting up the trees. So when we reconstructed that parking lot, we took away some of that excess pavement and created 2 nice areas for trees to grow, and removing them from the sidewalk and placing them where more appropriately where they belong, and with trees that are appropriate for that area. So we do consider that, do our best to do that. When we can't, we do our best. It's a challenge, absolutely.
And I know you do it with limited resources. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Mr.
Chairman?
Chairman?
Yes, Councilor Napolitano.
Yes, I have a question. Is something that was described to me as being an apron to a driveway and done in cobblestone. And they were told they couldn't do it. Is it, for some reason, with so many historic properties, it's kind of hard to believe, we want the surface where the water can drain and everything. Has there been instances where you've denied the apron be, say, cobblestone?
I'm not aware where we of any circumstance where we denied
Okay.
someone a Belgian block
All right.
paver, certainly outside of the sidewalk. area.
Okay. And do you consider that part of their driveway, even though you have the sidewalk and then you have a driveway, that would be their property? Correct.
Right. Once you're on private property, um, the owner is free to do what they wish within the confines, obviously, of the zoning and building officials
Okay.
and any stormwater issues that may arise or planning requirements, planning
Okay.
board requirements. But
Thank
that
you.
is outside of my purview.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, thanks for this feedback. I think we all learned a little bit more about this issue than I know prior. I'll say, I hope what you're hearing from us pretty clearly is just some level of common sense and balance. This council seems to be aligned and supportive of anything that continues to maintain the ADA accessibility of areas where there are sidewalks. When we move into those zones where that's not the case, we're hearing more than I would have ever expected to have heard about Belgian block in this position. Um, but hopeful that it gets resolved and becomes less of an issue before we need to consider a resolution or some other action from the council. Hopefully that's helpful direction from all of us with this dialogue.
Understood.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor Carlin.
thank you. I have just one question. Has the city ever approached, communicated with non-contractors, homeowners themselves, those who are developing their property in the ways that you mentioned, and told those property owners that your developer, or I should say your contractor, is doing this the wrong way, and you may have to tear this up at some point, or you may have to take action at some point based on the rules?
We typically communicate with the contractor. That's our point of contact. They are the owner's agent, and we communicate with them. We educate them, and when they are constructing sidewalks, they request inspections. We will go out there and assist them with their layout and approve any construction.
To the degree that we're enforcing the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, is there an underlying city ordinance which permits the city by force of local law to enforce the ADA in these cases?
So we look to new construction. So when new construction is being installed, those are the instances we focus in on. We don't go looking for existing driveways or sidewalks that are non-compliant.
No, I appreciate that. I understand that. What gives the city the authority to enforce the ADA? Are there other aspects of the ADA that the city enforces, and do we do that simply because we think it's the right thing to do, which it is? Or do we do that because federal law permits local governments to enforce the ADA?
Right, it's our duty to make any improvements within the government's property, for myself anyway, for the right of way. Make sure that those things are ADA compliant to the best of our ability.
I'm just wondering, what authority do we have by law to do that? It seems to me that the federal government, and I agree with the need to do this. In fact, that we have been terrible at this in the past, not terrible as a, as a city, but as the United States of America, we have not been as wise to these needs as we should be. But what gives us the direct authority by law to do this?
Because, I'm sorry if I
Go
can
ahead.
jump in here, because the ADA requires us to do that. And we've had the Department of Justice down here investigating complaints against us for defective sidewalks and other barriers to mobility. So we have to comply with it, or otherwise we will have to deal with complaints and procedures and corrective action violations brought by the Department of Justice.
Perfect. Well understood. I appreciate that. One last, and I promised I wouldn't, or I said I would only ask those, but the majority of the folks who have signed this petition, those that live in Newport, live in the third ward. I'm aware of one, and ironically, I believe it is a summons to municipal court that was previously issued. I'm aware of one of those summons, which was issued to, if it is the same family, was issued to the resident of Newport who is bringing forward this petition to us tonight. Is that the only summons that you are aware of that the city of Newport has issued for a violation of these underlying ADA rules?
Yes, it sounds like that's the only one I'm aware of. And contractors, by far, are more than willing to comply, obviously, with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Of course, I'm just curious as to why only one contractor received a summons when apparently this is being done on a widespread basis. You are educating folks, but why only one contractor who was given a summons to appear in municipal court?
It appears that he was unwilling to comply with our policies and federal law.
Thank you.
Councilman McCalla?
I just also wanted to highlight federal requirements as well, but us as a city also developed an ordinance, the Green and Complete Streets policy as well, that does promote more access, accessibility, and just hearing from Mr. Boardman as well, just talking about I had no idea cobblestones, like in terms of environmentally, also have other impacts like clogging sump pumps, pathogens, that get carried into the bay.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And wow, who knew cobblestones are deadly?
We're-
And I'm being funny. And
Cobblestones aren't deadly.
no,
And,
sorry.
and so the cobblestones aren't the issue. It's the, with respect to that particular issue I spoke to earlier, it's the driveways or area really that are not, we say, just are not grass. They're not covered by anything, asphalt or anything like that. They just wash the dirt into the roadway. And so we are very sensitive to that in our environment.
Yeah. Thanks
Additional
for-
questions? Hearing none, the motion has been seconded. All those in favor?
To receive, yeah, aye.
Any opposed? It's carried. Brings us to item K.
Motion to approve a communication from Lauren Parmalee, resignation from the Tree and Open Space Commission, received with regret. Do I have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
Yes.
Councilman McCalla?
I just brought this up just to recognize Lauren for her 3 years of being able to dedicate her time, especially as, she's also affiliated as the senior director for the Audubon Society. And we were incredibly lucky to have her talent and time. So just wanted to say thank you to Lauren. So.
Additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Motion to receive a communication from Rebecca Boland and Louisa Boatwright, co-chairs of the School Building Committee.
Second.
Comments or questions? Councilman
Yes,
Carlin?
Mr. Chairman, thank
Yes.
you. This is what the city council asked for. Namely, what is your plan as a school building committee, as a Newport School Department for the stockpile of dirt at Rogers High School or at the location that the current and future Rogers High School is on? And I must say, Mr. Chairman, that this is an extremely disappointing report that the Newport School Department has given to the council. I want to point out two things in particular, three things. Number one, this city council, thank you to my colleagues, have been asking the Newport School Department, the School Building Committee, for many, many, many months to deal with this stockpile. How would you like 45,000 cubic yards of dirt, toxic dirt in your backyard? I don't think anybody would want that. This is a very serious concern for the neighbors. We've been asking for its removal. They've done nothing. Now, according to the report, 17,000 additional cubic yards of soil, of toxic soil, will be dumped on top of the existing 40+ thousand. Again, we've asked them to do something about this, and they're ignoring us consistently. Number two, they are telling us essentially that that stockpile will be there until October of 2025. I repeat what I said a minute ago regarding how would you like that. Number three, They have absolutely no answers as to who's going to pay for the ultimate removal. And they have no answers as to what's going to happen to that toxic pile of dirt. They're suggesting maybe the city can use it. But they already told us we can't use it at the site of the Rogers High School project because it's toxic soil. This is becoming embarrassing, and these are affecting, or this is affecting the neighborhood, not just a few houses. Dozens and dozens of houses, Mr. Chairman. I urge the city administration, the city's legal department, and my colleagues to do anything possible to put the neighbors at ease and get rid of this soil pile. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Carlin. Additional comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Motion to approve a special event license, Daniel. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Communication, motion to receive a communication from Scott Avedisian, CEO of Rhode Island Public Transportation Authority, having to do with the Route 64 and 68. There was some concern. Oh, do I have a second?
Second.
There was some concern that Route 64 would be altered or eliminated, and as well as Route 68. Both routes will continue and will not be eliminated. So that's very good news for Newport.
I just wanted to pull this item out separately. There's a lot of work that this council does outside of official votes on resolutions and ordinances that include lobbying different state agencies to help maintain existing important services. Our public transit system is something that is absolutely crucial, making sure this community works. 68 specifically connects our north end of Newport to downtown, but then also over to Middletown to locations where organizations like the YMCA and multiple different well-being agencies are located. Similarly, Route 64 is the connection between URI and our campus, Newport. And so an important connection for us to maintain as we start thinking about the blue economy, our effectiveness and ability to attract international students. And so I know that much of this council did a lot of work advocating, whether it's direct phone calls to Mayor Avedisian through their prior connections, traveling across the Bay to actually go testify at the public forums that were available for this, writing letters. We fought hard for this behind the scenes, and I want to be sure that we at least express our thanks to RIPTA for maintaining these routes, and to thank the balance of the council for all the work and advocacy that went into this. Councilor McCallum?
Yeah, I would like to also, yes, thank RIPTA, because this was very important, especially when we were talking about 63 and 68. This was all about access to mental health, critical mental health services, being able to get to people's jobs, like hearing testimony directly from the community members saying that if these routes were eliminated, that they could lose their job, and economic instability. And so for us as a council, being able to advocate and be able to have a conversation with RIPTA, this was a very big deal and a very big victory for our community. So it'll be. But I do want to say, although it's no longer eliminated, that doesn't mean that it's a guarantee. There's some funding that has been extended, but it's important that we continue to advocate and stay on top of these routes, because we are seeing that RIPTA is dealing with financial challenges of being able to preserve certain routes. And we want to make sure that we still continue and that we're on top. We're not out of the woods just yet. Yeah.
Thank you. There are no additional comments or questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried. This brings us to item 13.
13, yes. This is an update from the Ad Hoc Bridge Realignment Property Advisory Commission. Mr. Colin Kane, the chair, will give us a presentation.
And I see that we have other members of the commission here as well. Mr. Gibson, Mr. Deal, thank you for joining us this evening.
I promise I won't read all of this. Sorry, when I was in the Navy, we always said that the ship floats on paper and not water. Suggest the same attaches to the north end. Thank you so much, members of the council, City Manager Citrin, Solicitor Bean, the clerk, Swistak. Appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. Also want to thank my volunteer commission members who have been actively engaged since we began this November, December timeframe. Vice Chair Ellen Pinnock, Jeff Deal, and Tom Gibson are here tonight. Roy Louth is our local rep, an amazing contribution to the team, Jan Brody, who I worked with at the 195 Commission. I know it'd be a lot more fun to continue to celebrate the doula and the award-winning poets, but I am going to bore you a little bit tonight with some engineering, some process, some politics, and some future, hopefully a bright future. Just to quickly reiterate, I know when you interviewed folks to be members of the commission, I had shared what I hoped was a path forward, a work plan for our 18-month period of existence. The first piece of that, the goal is, what do we have? We all drive by the newly relined entry and exit to the city. We can all kind of say, well, I know kind of where that is. That's over by Slots. That's by the tradesman facility. That's by the public utility yard. But I think we're all still getting used to kind of the geometry of just getting in and out of the city. And most of us have not yet familiarized ourselves or had the opportunity to familiarize ourselves with what comes next. What are we actually left with when all of this work is complete? So, when I say what is left, it's not just 20 acres. Okay? It's 20 acres that has X amount of wetlands on it, that has a topographic condition that we can or cannot build on, that has an environmental or geotechnical condition that we can or cannot build on, that has an Elizabeth Brook, either on it or not on it, with a 200-foot setback as mandated by DEM. So I think the first part of our task was to dive in and understand what information is extant today. The second thing was, okay, if we have holes in this information, what do we need, or what would we recommend be produced? There's a lot of decision places that we can go. But to the extent that the city would like to get control of some or all of these parcels that would be accessed by DOT and the Federal Highway Administration, how would we do that? What is the process through which the city of Newport or some other entity would get control of these parcels? How and what, how much would we need to resource said acquisition, said improvement? To the extent that we did take title to the property, either all or some of it, what would we do with it? What options does the city of Newport have, or anybody have? How would we basically be in the land development business as a public body? And then furthermore, and this is somewhat involved in our thinking as a commission, can we serve perhaps as a model, either good or bad, I hope it's very good, for other potential additions to the north end? Let's talk about, let's say the Navy Hospital land, which offers so much promise and so many challenges. So I'm just going to give you a quick review of the things that we've done. I think, again, very proud of the active work of my fellow commissioners critically, and I cannot thank the city and Trish Reynolds enough. Trish is an active member, and I would suggest the foundation of our efforts. So we are absolutely working in concert with the very, very strong professionals at the city level. We are yet to engage with the city engineering team, but that's next. And that's also, I'm confident, going to be a very productive exercise. The first thing we had to do was become a public body. Could not do that without the city's help.
Lord, thank you so much. I know I was painful. Technology and open meetings and registering for the Secretary of State, really, I can't work my phone. So we were able to get through all of that hard work, get our meeting notices on time, both at the state level and here at the city level. Tom Gibson, our fellow commissioner, is a magician in managing public process and public meetings, and we're very lucky to have him on the team. So we are functioning. We have regularly scheduled meetings. We have active participation by our members. We have assigned work teams that satisfy open meetings laws, but still allow all of us to participate in trying to achieve the work plan that I described. That's good. That's a positive. I'll say yes. Give us an A on that. The second thing is, what do we got? How do we figure this out? So we started with the city. Thank you, Solicitor Bean, for your time. Again, Trish, amazing. What does the city have in its files relative to all the stuff that's been happening for the past 4 or 5 years on this side of the bridge? Again, not surprisingly, we don't have a lot. DOT appropriately is charged with improving the transportation and the access in and out of the city. So it's their information. They're the ones who are managing the project. It's been in the works for 20, 25 years. So they're the fundamental repository for the extant engineering and physical information and legal information related to the parcels. We were very lucky. There's a wonderful working group in the city. This city is so actively engaged from a civic perspective that a lot of great work has already happened by the Elizabeth Brook Working Group. There's a young lady there, Paige Myatt. Please find her a place permanently somewhere in the city. She's an amazing professional. And she has gone forth and kind of scooped up stuff that's in DOT's files, in DEM's files, in the city's files. And right now is the basic working repository of the extant information that we have. We met with Commerce, worked very closely with, at the time, EDC. When I was the chair of the 195 Commission, Liz Tanner is an old friend, our Secretary of Commerce, and she confirmed, as does, by the way, the federal highway guidance, DOT's guidance for the North End realignment project. This is not only a transportation project, this is an economic development and community improvement in plan. And she reinforced that and offered her commitment, at the the Division of Commerce, Department of Commerce, to help us kind of resource our activities. DOT is our fundamental partner. DOT has been running a great project. I'm sure frustrating for many people that come in and out of the city. Construction is messy and difficult, but I think for the most part, their work is on schedule and close to being done. So we wanted to meet with DOT and understand first their schedule, second their process. How do they access the property? And then what is the sequence? How do we get there? To the extent that the city or its designee decides to take control of the dirt. So this was our beginning of information transfer with, I would say, the vault of data that exists on the site. So we did have a meeting with them. The director of statewide properties is a friend, exceptionally capable professional. We went through a very similar process when the 195 Redevelopment Commission purchased the 195 redevelopment area from DOT. So I've been through the process before. Fortunately, Solicitor Bean had some fair amount of familiarity actually with the project and process, both on the DOT taking from the city and DOT giving back. So we have a consensus and understanding of what that process is. No one's going to like the answer. So another part of our work plan, not a work plan, but somewhat our role, is to manage expectations around what can potentially happen, and moreover, what needs to be invested to happen to make the North End a reality. The reality is the DOT, by both federal highway and state regulations, is required to sell the property at fair market value. And the fair market value is established by a third-party appraisal, exactly the same process that we went through at 195. And typically, that process would not begin until the project is what they call closed out. The targeted closeout date today, and the closeout is not just physical, it's also legal. There were 144 takings in the production of the bridge and the realignment project, most of them in the 60s, some of them more recent for the specific realignment project. So there's a process that DOT Legal, Statewide Properties, has to go through to basically follow up with the 144 folks that they took the dirt from or purchased the dirt from, and it first gets offered to the heirs by statute. So there's a process that they are regulated and required to go through. Typically, the process of sort of quote unquote accessing the land, making it available for appraisal and for marketing would not happen until the closeout date, which right now is July 2026. So it sounds like a long time away, but the reality is on large scale projects like this, if you've ever redone a kitchen, we all know that 2 years goes by awfully quickly. So the good news is we have a commitment from DOT, and I'm confident from Federal Highway, that they will accelerate their evaluation and the procedures they need to quote unquote access the parcels. Some of which may not be available, some of which they may retain for future improvements, future stormwater, future utilities. So they themselves, they make that determination based on the transportation and engineering requirements. So that's sort of kind of where we are. The city needs to anticipate resourcing or contemplating resourcing the acquisition. Okay. It will be at fair market value. What that fair market value is, I hope very much that we inform. If half of it is wetland and half of it you can't build on and half of it is unsuitable soils, we shouldn't pay for it. Nor would I suggest we take control of it because it has no market value, no merit, and it, quite frankly, is a liability. So from my perspective and the commission's perspective, our recommendation is that this will take some work, that we, while they're closing out, quote unquote, closing out the job, we begin to assess these things through our lens, okay? With our city engineering support, our planning support, and our third-party professionals. So that's sort of the kind of the state of the state, because we don't know what we have. If anyone's walked up there, taken a hike, and sort of you can begin to see the contours of what might be, I'll call it residual or available for disposition. There's a lot of wet. There are a lot of retention basins. Elizabeth Brook goes somewhere. All the water on the newly constructed streets and the existing streets goes somewhere. And the good news is it's being captured and treated, at least the parts that DOT has completed. But we understand that the region, the area, has a stormwater management and control issue that this property in some ways can help solve. So what is actually buildable is really what we need to determine. Because we all, listen, I would very much like to say that next year we're going to see hundreds of millions of dollars of investments in open space, in affordable housing, in the green economy, in all the things that we would like Newport to be, or the North End to be. But right now, I can't tell you that we can build a single apartment building or a single home on any part of the property. Confident there is stuff that we can build, but today we know very, very little. And we need to understand what that is. How do we do this? And this is so I will express, and I think I speak for our commission, some level of frustration. Okay, and that is not at all frustration with the incredible support that we've had from the city and the city team. It's not a question of support at Commerce, or quite frankly, I think the engagement of DOT. But 5 volunteers a great city staff and occasional access to our friends at DOT is not going to get the information that we require.
Mm.
I had an experience when we did 195. We had no resources either. I was the resource. I quit my job and I did it as a volunteer for 2 years. But when 195 was formed, I had an incredibly cooperative level of support from every single state agency, the city of Providence, and every single utility provider. DOT not only welcomed us into their building, they organized the meetings for us. They set up meetings in their conference rooms, invited Verizon, Cox, Narragansett Bay Commission, DEM, Coastal Resources. They were the lead, quite frankly, in helping us understand what needs to be done for this, in that case, the 195 Commission to effectively take title and then to be prepared to get it developed. So it went from completion to shovel ready, very, very quickly. We need to get on that path, I believe, to make the north end, and quite frankly, any other parcels, Navy Hospital, that may or may not get added to this pile, hopefully gets added to this pile over time. So I am confident that we, the commission, with the city team, have the intellectual heft to understand this and execute on our work plan and correctly inform our recommendations to the city council on next steps, but we cannot do it alone. The redevelopment of the north end cannot be completed by the city of Newport itself. We are too small. We do not have the resources to basically put new utilities on 20 acres. We don't have the resources to build 1,000 connector roads, more sewer, stormwater. Right now, we don't have gas service. We don't have electrical power. We need larger resources, both to plan. We're going to have to resource the acquisition if we want to take control of it. And in my mind, that has to come from a larger partner.
Mhm.
And that partner, in my opinion, is the state of Rhode Island. Obviously, we will get Fed support, but we can't get federal government support, so we understand what we're asking for. And that has to come with our partners at the state. So I'm frustrated, but I'm excited about the future. We know the path, but we need, our working team needs to have that same room on Smith Hill. It's not Newport. We'd love to have them down here. It'd be better, more fun. But we have to have that level of commitment and dialogue from the state. I go back to, this is not a transportation project alone. This is an economic development and community improvement project. I don't think that 20 acres and all the potential around it is any less important to the economic future of the state of Rhode Island than downtown Providence. Newport contributes as much and is as important to the future health of the state, and it's a great thing. There's so many positive things that can happen, but we have to get that support, and we have to get it as quickly as possible. So, Mayor, I know most of you put a lot of time into securing the bus routes. Okay, so sharpen those pencils because we're going to whip them out again, okay? And we're going to have the same level of, if I dare say, lobbying, cajoling, charming our partners at the state, because we need them to recognize that this is as important as what happened at 195. And I believe this is a complete success at 195. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Mayor, and I don't want to leave anybody, anyone in the public certainly.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
You mentioned a third-party professional. What would those basically consultants do?
So, Councilor, I would say that some of this is already being done. The city has third-party project engineers that have been working on the Elizabeth Brook project. They're working with city engineer now on watershed issues and sort of moving that stuff around. What we need to do, in my opinion, is sort of, we have buckets of information, right? We've got we have wetland studies that were done before the improvements. We have drawings that basically are the construction drawings for what's being built today, but we don't know, we don't have those synthesized. We all can walk around. We have Elizabeth, we know where Elizabeth Brook was and probably is, but that's not overlaid with what the potential parcels are. We don't have a map. I can't tell you, I can't show you what's going to be available at the completion of this project. Now, we've kind of assembled one.
Mhm.
You know, Planner Reynolds is exceptionally good.
Mhm.
I don't have a map.
Right.
And that map needs to be translated into, site-specific engineering drawings on every parcel that tie to topo, geotech, environmental, title, blah, blah, blah. And that's what we need to produce before we can even evaluate, Counselor, the merits of parcel 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Now, would that come from primarily from DOT, or could that be done through a third party consultant or
I've been
professional?
spoiled in the past. Uh, Again, we had very strong technical support from our partners at the state at 195. They deployed their in-house and third-party resources to produce much of what we utilized at 195. They also engaged third parties, but they extended their third parties to help us.
Mhm.
But I think at some point, fairly soon, we would need a center of that. It could be the existing engineer that we've got it's already procured by the city to to aggregate this stuff. So it's not this, but it's something that we can all actually make decisions around, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
This-
Mr.
Go ahead, Councilor McCallum.
Yeah, I thank you, and thank you to the commission for all of the work that you're doing. I just wanted to further suss out as well. So just kind of talk to me a little bit more about larger resources. So you talked about some state, like some of the amenities with the state. Can you share about how you were able, to get access to that resources? Was it
We need an open book with our partners at the state.
great?
It's not, do you have any threes? No, go fish.
Mhm.
It's not an appropriate way for us to manage the decision-making around the project. It's not good for anybody. I mean, do we really want to wait until July 2026 and all of a sudden, hey, we're all excited. We've worked we have such potential here. And then we get the drawings and it's all wetlands or drainage ditches and unsuitable soils. I mean, that's, so again, this is not at all, I don't want to bash anybody. I mean, listen, DOT is actively engaged. They're rebuilding the entire state infrastructure right now, especially in East Providence, where my main office is. So this is not at all, but we have to, this has to be done in an absolute level of high cooperation. And there's no state secrets here. This is geotechnical engineering. This is stormwater management. I don't even know how you engage with. Let me just use a simple example, Counselor. And again, I told you it's much more fun to celebrate the poet than talk about engineering. But let's just suggest that we determine relatively quickly, which I believe we can, what quote unquote is buildable or potentially buildable. Maybe we can move a river. We can do that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Even if we know that, we have to generate a load study. Okay, how many BTUs do we need to heat those buildings? Okay, that's great. Where are they? Well, they're over there, and we don't have enough. So, our substation is not big enough. And if we're going to build a substation, that's National Grid or Rhode Island Energy.
Mhm.
Again, great partners, but we need to know what we're asking for.
Mhm.
First, we need to know where we can build, and we got to figure out kind of what could be built from a density perspective, and then we go figure out where we would want that transformer station so that it maybe not only serves the 20 acres or whatever is left, but potentially we plan that for the Navy Yard, the Navy Hospital, and we plan that for whatever needs to be done upstream. So there's an opportunity here to use this project, to use these parcels as the center of planning engagement
Mhm.
for a new center of Newport. I mean, fundamentally, but it starts with clean title, clean dirt, dry dirt.
We have dirt now.
Yeah, we got dirt. I don't want to produce more. So again, I'm very excited about it, but my frustration is I thought we would be able to run a little faster, with even the volunteer resources and the existing city resources. It's not a question of our commitment or the city's commitment. It's a question of, come on, man, give us a data room,
Yeah.
and then give me an engineer that would help consolidate. So
As we're about to kick off our budgeting process for the next fiscal year, within that budget, what should we be considering in terms of financial resources to help start cracking that door open more with the state and to get organized?
So I think that's a good question, Mayor. I think the first one is, and we can come up with a scope. Again, the city is well supported by professional engineers, and the city engineering staff is quite good. It's very good. So I think we can review with that team if it's appropriate, if the city thinks it's appropriate from a procurement perspective, to kind of ID their scope. Our job, we're not going to fully engineer each site. This is the first level, I call it 30,000 feet. Can't do that one because it's got a railroad around it. Elizabeth Brook is the entire site. And we're never going to access it because it's too high. Okay, well, let's not worry about that. Okay, so it's really to kind of hone in on where are the high pry real opportunities. And I think that's relatively short dollars. But someone, whoever, whether it's the city or DOT, because the alternative here is if the city does not get control of it, DOT will go through this exact same process to the market, right? So they'll appraise it. If they get the appraised value, they will sell it at that number. And I would suggest a few things would happen in that regard. One is we will not come close to realizing any vision of the North End plan. What will work will be a shopping center with a big parking lot, right? We'll get pieces of stuff that are not cohesive, that do not necessarily share a parking resource, a stormwater resource, a utility resource. The opportunity of control here is to be able to centralize or consolidate those requirements. Parking structure, where do you put it? Why are we going to have every building's got its own parking field? Let's figure out where we put a parking structure so that it supports multiple uses, right? I mean, imagine if we could redesign downtown, we would somehow figure out where to do that, right? Perhaps better than where it is today. So that's the opportunity. So that we would lose that opportunity, and we can't control that simply through zoning, because we can control maybe what gets built on something, but we cannot control creating something special.
Mr. Chair, is there any provision that says, okay, that the heirs have the first right of refusal, I suppose? I mean, that the city has any stake in that, or can the state just go directly to a developer and sell it?
So I will defer to Solicitor Bean, but my understanding is that, assuming that it's accessed, they can auction the property. I don't think the city has any rights of first refusal or offer.
No, they do have to go back to the owners who owned the property when they first took it, and that was back in the 60s. If they're individuals, you do not have to go down to the heirs at law. If it's a corporation, though, you have to see if there's anyone still involved in that corporation, shareholders and so forth. So that's the first step.
Right.
I think they do, as a matter of course. They may allow us to come in but we're going to have to purchase it at fair market.
Right.
That part is set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if one thing RIDOT was telling us, make sure the council understands that. So, but you're right, they could auction out, they can sell it to whoever could pay that amount of money.
And I'm hoping that the city may elect not to do that. Say, you know what, can't afford it, can't do it. We're not going to yield anything out of it that's meaningful. Fine. So let's at least be positioned where the city can make an informed decision. And let's try to get as far ahead of figuring out how we resource the acquisition or control as possible. It happened at 195 because the state of Rhode Island did it. The city of Providence did not do that. The state of Rhode Island backstopped the bonds that purchased the dirt. That's how that worked. I don't think that would, as much as Newport's fantastic, I'm hoping that the valuations don't approach those of a completely knitted together city, capital city. But I don't want to underestimate either. The acquisition cost it's not six figures. So, and that's in the best of worlds, we know this well before July 2026, because we worked in partnership with the state and with DOT. And we can make that decision well ahead of that inflection point.
Additional questions? Councilor
Yeah,
Napolitano?
it sounds like right now, even though there's a lot of property over there, or we're always told about the number of acres, half of it might be underwater, if not more. We don't know that. So, what is the first step to at least be able to assess what it's really valued at? I mean, I'm still hearing from people that are upset about their assessment in the first ward, you know? So I just,
So this is the first step. This is this compilation, Counselor, that we need to have happen. So, we've requested a tour of the land with a DOT project manager. May 21st is the targeted date. Hopefully, that works, 3 p.m. And hopefully it works for DOT. I think we'll get eyes on it.
Okay.
Eyes are not the engineering drawings, but the eyes
Right.
will help us kind of, all of us, to get a sense of, I get it. I understand where things kind of are, right? It's really still hard for me. I've walked it, I've driven it 100 times, and I still,
Yeah.
there's a lot of construction going on still, and
Right.
it's a new streetscape, right?
right.
We're not used to driving, past the theater. So I think, that's the first piece, but this assemblage that I'm describing, I think needs to happen. There's no reason why we couldn't get this done in the next 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
If it was resourced and we had absolute transparency, visibility, cooperation of our state partners.
Yeah. All right.
That's the gate right now.
Right. Thank you.
Anybody, I'm going to come back. You're going to be stuck with me some more. We hope on a quarterly basis. Certainly invite anyone in the public, council members, to join our meetings. They're the last Tuesday, or typically the last Tuesday of each month, typically here. All of us on the commission are available for questions. There's nothing, this is just hard bootstrap checklist oriented engineering and design and legal work. And I think our entire commission is following along with that and supporting that and adding to that decision making and recommendations. So please, we're here to talk to anybody. I'd like to be able to say that someday, soon, we'll be able to have a meaningful conversation, Counselor, about this is the true opportunity. This is what can be made magical. This is what it's going to take to get there. This is what it's going to cost us, and celebrate that because that's wonderful, right? But we're not there yet, and I think we need some more work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul, and thank you and Ellen and Jeff and Tom and Roy for all the work that you're putting into this. We know it's a tremendous amount. I think this is a terrific first update, and we are looking forward to following up and supporting you to make sure you get the resources you need to get the job done.
We appreciate the support of the council and the entire city. So thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Been a motion. It's been seconded. If there are no further comments or questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Motion to approve a special event license, Daniel Cano Restrepo, Newport Pride, doing business as Newport Pride Festival and Bike Parade, Great Friends Meeting House, June 29th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Are we gonna discuss this or?
There's motion to receive.
It's just motion to receive, yeah.
We
Motion to
already
receive a I'm just gonna make a motion to receive the communication from Jan Restrepo requesting the city to absorb the cost of the police detail associated with the event. Mr. Chair, I think that I would like to refer this to city administration for review.
So is that a motion to receive and to refer to the administration? There's been a second discussion.
Yes. We just voted.
We voted to approve the special event license, but we did not do anything with the communication.
Isn't it all under? Because it's 2A. So wouldn't it all be under?
Not in my
Two?
mind. I see them as separate.
Can you clarify?
You do have item 2, and then you have a small a, so I don't think it's a problem to deal with it in two different ways. So you approved it, and then you take up the second communication.
So we could, and if we didn't, it would just be under one big package, right? Because it's like 2 and then 2A, so like 2 would,
Oh, I mean, I believe there's 2 separate items there.
Mhm.
There is you have the special event, and then there's a separate communication to do it without, with the fees associated with the police detail paid by the city. So, I mean, normally we don't have that second item in a special event license. So I think it's proper to treat it separately as 2 separate issues.
gotcha. Thank you.
Any
Mr. Chairman,
additional?
how much is the
Councilor Callan?
special, or how much, I should say, would the police detail cost?
$761.
Well, I'll move to amend so that the council can just get it over with tonight. I would move to amend and have the city absorb the police detail cost.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions on the amendment?
I just would like to make a comment.
Yes, Councilor
Um,
Napolitano?
We have a lot of great organizations in Newport, and they are forever holding different events, whether it be bicycle events or racing events. And if every single one and they're all worthy, if every single one came to us for police cost, I'm not sure that we could fairly deal with that. In the past, we've always referred this to the manager's office.
Mhm.
We've already um, uh, have talked about our budget. We have people calling us every day upset about their assessments and they're not sure what our taxes are going to be. We know we have 500 million ahead of us over the next 5 years for different resiliency and things like that. I just don't think it's right to pick and choose at this moment. It's kind of unfair to put that because they're all worthy organizations. In fact, I'll be talking about 2 of them in a few minutes. And I just, it, I feel uncomfortable saying that we would absorb something like this at this point. I think we really need to, do it as we've done it in the past. If we had the additional money, fine. And I think you're basing it on what was charged last year. It may be increased, not considerably, but if you add up all the different organizations that do different events in the city, we'd really have a problem with that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilor McCallum?
I hear what Councilor Napolitano is saying. We don't want to necessarily go through a slippery slope over special selection over who gets what preference over the other, et cetera. And we don't want to start this chain. But I also think I just sense a moment to pause because we did approve our St. Patrick's Day parade, an extension of painting a green line, which was the extension of the city of Newport. And I also just think about our LGBTQ plus community is on the rise in terms of attacks and safety. And I think it would be a good gesture for our city to double down and make sure that we are sending a message. I think $761. I don't have a problem saying yes this year, and we can't ask. Please don't ask us again. But can this council make an exception for this year?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, This is a slippery slope. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I know, for instance, the Newport Public Education Foundation, with their night runs, you know, they pay for the police detail. The city has never said, yes to that.
Right.
There are many organizations that, have asked, and you know, it's very difficult. And I think that we do need to come up with a policy, but, and we cannot do this for every organization, but, um, just in the spirit of, goodwill, would, I would say yes to this year. But, it's something that we really need to buckle down on. And I think that it's important to have the community know that, you know, the city cannot, foot the bill on all of these events.
Did the city cover the cost of this last year?
No,
No.
no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we did.
Sorry.
Yes or no?
Yes, Danny.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Daniel Khan. I'm the Executive Director for Newport Pride. The city did cover this last year, and just for some context, it was requested by the City Council for us to put it again this year as a formal request. So that's the reason why we did it this year, because last year the city was able to support us in that way. Also, our nonprofit never received any financial support from the city in the past. And I know that through the development of the budget, some local nonprofits do receive that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes.
Dan, Dan, can you come up for one more second? So in your letter to us, it says you received an invoice for the police detail. So did you turn that into the city?
Yes, we talked to the city manager at that moment. And because it hadn't been requested at the beginning of the permit, they request us to do it.
Okay.
This time through the permit.
All right. Yeah, I just want to make sure that was clarified though. Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? There's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is
Nay.
carried. Thank you.
Okay, motion to approve the 2024 Sidewalk Cafe license renewals. Do it.
Was the amendment.
Oh, a motion to approve as amended, sorry.
Second.
Comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Motion to approve the 2024 Sidewalk Cafe license renewals. Do I have to do these individually? Can we just do them all at once? Chris?
Go all at once.
These don't require a public hearing, so that you can do them all together.
Okay. Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Motion to approve a Sidewalk Cafe license, new 95 Broadway, doing business as The Market on Broadway, 95 Broadway. Do I have a second?
Second?
Comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Motion to approve a 2024 street cafe renewal, for Malt and Poor Judgment. Do I have a
Second.
second?
Comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Motion to continue the vittling license expansion for the Preservation Society. Do I have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Motion to approve a farmer's market license, Aquidneck Community Table, doing business as Aquidneck Growers Market, Wednesday, beginning May 22nd through October 30th, 2024, Memorial Boulevard between Edgar Street and Chapel Street from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is my understanding that the contract for this market has not been updated since 2021. Is that correct?
It was a license agreement that had been in place for, I'm going to say 5 years, or it was a certain amount of years that did expire in 2021. And the license agreement did address a lot of the issues a lot of issues that probably normally wouldn't be addressed with just a separate special event um, application. So
Mhm.
the license agreement was in place to address this event and put in certain conditions and so forth. So that has not been in place since 2021. At
Mhm.
least the license agreement that I
Mhm.
saw from the clerk's office. So I don't know what was done in the past year, whether it was just by.
I think we just approved the license in the last several years. I'd like to make a motion that we continue this item to look at that contract.
I don't, okay. I just.
One second before discussion. Is there a second?
Second, I'm not gonna leave you hanging.
Yeah. Okay, we're in discussion. Councilman McCallum?
Sorry. If it pleases the council, we have representation from Aquidneck Growers Market.
Well, I would like us to consider a continuation for 2 weeks to look at the contract. I mean,
In part of making this decision, I want to understand this in its totality. This is the first time I'm hearing of it, so I
Mhm.
just want to hear. I'm okay with that, but I mean, if the council would like to say their piece first, it's fine. I make no bones about it.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Council Carlin?
I intend to vote for this application. I gave my colleague a professional courtesy. Is there anybody who wants to discuss in detail Vice Chair Segley's motion to continue, or can we vote on that right now, Mr. Chair?
we can vote on it right now as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Sorry.
There's no objection.
No.
All those in favor of the continuance?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Motion's
Okay.
carried. Okay. Back to the item itself.
Yes, as you know, I have had many concerns about the location of this market. I will never vote to approve this market in this location. As much as a supporter of the Aquidneck Community Table as I am, I feel that this is a very dangerous area to have a market in the middle of the summer. Traffic is very heavy in that area. The parking is not adequate. Even parking for vendors is not adequate. We have had discussions with the Quidnet Community Table to try to move them to another location, which would have suitable parking, and there's always been, no, we're not moving. So I have been the lone voice in opposing this location, not the farmer's market. And I have tried my best to make this a safer event to no avail. And frankly, I don't believe I have the support of my fellow counselors either. But I will tell you, there will be an accident there. There will be somebody will be hit. It's just a matter of time. And the fact that every time a location is brought up, you say no. And it's just without even consideration. And there was a perfectly fine location that was brought up to you for free. And again, no. So that's all I have to say. It's to me, having it on this at this location is ridiculous. And using Donovan Manor and Chapel Terrace as an excuse for having it there, I think is a total red herring when we all know that it's there because you want to be in an area that will bring in business.
Additional comments from the council before we take some testimony?
I
Mr.
have a comment.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to punish, which is basically a business, for being successful? There hasn't been any issues. I know we can't, if we were going to say, all right, we're gonna, eliminate a business or change an address of a business because we think something's gonna happen.
Well, you wear a
That's what we have to
seatbelt if
wait.
you think that there's going to avoid any kind of.
That's
You know,
Hold on one second.
I-
I'm here for
I-
a second here.
I
Just
have
wanna
the
let
floor.
Counselor Holder has the floor. We'll let him finish. We'll come back.
So
Sorry, Counselor Holder.
in my opinion, it actually slows traffic down in that area. They also go either way. They pay for police detail on their own.
A dead body will slow it down too.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So
Councilor McCallum?
if we have, so we should just, why do we have the sidewalk cafes then? Why do we have anything on any city street? Why do we have parades? Why do we have the Broadway Street Fair? Something could happen. What's the difference? This has been going on for how many years now? And there hasn't been any problems. So why are we trying to create something where there isn't one?
Mr.
Councilor McCallum?
I agree with Counselor Holder, and also just adding, I think every year, you know, we need to stop making the correlation that the farmer's market is going to result in pedestrian unsafety. Like there's no report, there's no data to suggest that as a direct result of the farmer's market on Memorial Boulevard that people
Have I,
getting hurt and dying.
Councilor McCallum, people have been hit on Memorial
But
Boulevard
not because
crossing.
of the farmer.
Not because of the
And they
farmer's
didn't-
market, but they have been hit there. People have been really badly hurt because of the cars and the traffic and the speeding. And I mean, it's not as if this is just a place that has not had issues. It has.
Memorial Boulevard
This
is a
is-
state road, correct?
Yes, it
And
is.
perhaps maybe us as a council need to go to RIDOT and be able to champion that for more traffic calming measures and stop
We have done that.
using
We've done that.
the Aquidneck Growers Market as the red herring.
Let's pull some order to this here. I think this has been a good exchange, but if we could just let one person finish and then I promise I'll come back. Sorry, Councilor McCallum. Is there anything additional on this?
No, just there's no data, no research to suggest as a direct result that the farmers market, that people are in jeopardy. I think it's a great groundswell, and food access is important as well. I mean, despite your your opinions, Counselor Segley, about whether Donovan Manor or Chapel Terrace are able to access that. That is their choice, and there's an option either way. Like I just don't see. I want to support you, Counselor Segley, and I also agree with Counselor Holder. Like this is just getting really daunting to have to come and debate the same issue every year.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
And there is no issue.
Councilor Segley, anything?
No, I have nothing more to say.
Other comments from the council? Bevan, I'm not sure if you want to say anything. You can if you want to, but if you don't want to, that's fine as well.
I would just like to ask a question about the previous part of this conversation with regard to, I'm trying to understand what you said about the not having a license, did you say?
Some type of
contract.
contract.
Huh?
A contract.
Contract. Is that referring to the 5-year contract that is with the state for use of that road?
It was also one with the city of Newport.
And this is the first, I just want on record to say this is the first I've
Yeah.
heard about it, and I've been managing the market since 2011,
It's I think 5 years.
which is the length of time that the,
Well, whatever the license agreement for that expired in 2021. I believe there was a separate agreement with RIDOT where the RIDOT rules and regulations dealing with the use of their rights of ways and so forth was attached. But I think they dovetail together, the city and that, because some of that I think takes place also on the city right away. The state right away and the city.
And so that license will have to get rectified before the market can continue.
Yeah, I mean, if the only thing I would say is, based on the event, if there was a license agreement in place, then if the council consensus of the council, majority of the council wants this event, then just renegotiate a new one. I didn't see, I think there was insurance requirements in there. And you probably want some indemnification provisions in there. Other than that, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, I think it was 3 or 4 page license agreement.
But that indemnification, those pieces, those are also the pieces of documentation that protect the city in the event of an accident or anything like that, right? So it is important for us to have that issue rectified and sorted out.
Yes, I would say so for an event that's going to be in that area that has concerns that some people, and one counselor up there does have concerns about safety, that it will better set forth the obligations of the license holder. I mean, it's the same as, it's almost like doing an agreement for a special, we do these special event licenses, but you don't always put conditions on it. Some of these events are one-time events and that, so there isn't a provision stating to have the right level of insurance there for events, for occurrence and in case there's more than one person hurt, that type of thing. So following rules and regulations of the police department, that type of. So I think it's important to have.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilor McCallum.
how long would it take to issue another contract?
When is this event going to be held?
May 22nd.
And we, of course, have insurance coverage already in place that names the city.
Yeah.
So would that,
How long?
will that license come back before? I'm sorry, Councilor McCallum, go ahead. I mean, cut you off.
No, I'm just asking the question because I'm also thinking, again, we can still pass this and maybe make a contingency statement that under the new contract, like that Aquidneck community table will have a new license agreement before.
Well, we'd have to vote on
said-
it.
Said date. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind, again, I don't mind just moving this process forward. I trust our city to be able to go ahead with a contract and be able to do what they need to do and that you're going to be ready on the said date.
One of the issues will be how do you want this event to be in front of you each year? Or do you want to just give a license?
No, well, in front of every year as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
then, I
What?
mean, you've gone the past 2 years without the license agreement. I guess you could put a condition on here, on tonight's approval, that there be insurance. I believe a level should be at 1 million per person.
Council B, I'm going to pause this on this because as much as I would like to freelance author a contract on the dais, I think it's probably best left to your judgment to bring something back to us, if that's okay. And so I think what we're discussing here is approving the item that is posted for us right now on the agenda, the license itself, and then coming back for the contract itself before the council again for vote based on that input. So I apologize for cutting you off, but see the direction we're going here. Additional comments or questions to the council? Well, I just want to note a couple things here. First, Councilor Segley has weighed in and worked on this issue a lot, and I do believe that her interest in this is sincerely on public safety. I've seen that in her advocacy on this issue. I would encourage the farmers market to please take that as seriously as you can, as well as the interactions with the council. If we set up and you accept a meeting to go talk about either safety or another location, we expect that engagement in that meeting to be sincere when you do that. Putting a lot of time into this, and it's because we care, and we care about the farmers market, we care about people's safety. And so if a counselor is going down that path, please understand that generally speaking is how we all approach any engagement we have. That being said, there's an item that's been motioned for and seconded with the condition that we revisit the contract afterwards. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion's carried. Thank you. Board and commission updates.
Councilor
Yes.
Napolitano.
I just want to talk about two events that happened recently. We had 24 Japanese students that came last weekend, and I'd like to thank the people that participated from the community. Carmela Greer, Brenda Bachman, Jared Vance, principal at Rogers, Frank Newsom, dean at Rogers, and Lou Keene, who is the chair of our cemetery commission. The kids were engaged from the time they were here. We did have fun with them in the afternoon. Later on, they had a pizza party. They had students come from Rogers. The kids were up dancing and really having a good time. You couldn't tell there was a language barrier there. It was incredible. So I would like to thank the volunteers, particularly from Rogers High School, that attended the event. And Lou Keene, who is the chair of this historic cemetery commission, did a wonderful job. I've been going to the cemetery for the last 25 years for Commodore Perry, and I learned things that I had never heard before. So I really would like to thank all of them. The second event was Save the Bay. They're going to be open shortly. If not, they have been open now. It was unbelievable. We finally have a museum in the heart of the city that actually is interactive. They have plenty of displays for the kids. They have all sorts of things and a well-trained staff. And they've really gone over the top. I know they're going to be successful. It's just what the doctor ordered in downtown Newport. There's going to be a place for people that come here with their younger kids, and everybody that goes in there is going to learn something. So I recommend it highly. I'm very excited about it. It's in a great location where Discover Newport used to be. They've done a terrific job on it. And I would encourage everybody to go down. And if you don't go down with yourself, take your kids, your grandkids, your little brothers and sisters, anybody. They really will enjoy it. So it certainly was my pleasure to go there. And I hope that the citizens in Newport and others will go there.
Yeah,
you.
Mr. Chair, can I just add
Yes.
on to that? I think one of the things that sort of got lost in some of the articles about the aquarium is the city's role in this building and converting it, and Joe Nicholson's efforts in working with Save the Bay in order to make this aquarium happen. And I just want to say that this is still a city-owned building, and we were able to work with everyone to make this a really special area. So I just thank you.
Okay. Moving on to resolutions.
Yes, I'm going to read the resolve. That the city of Newport formally pledged to keep roadie litter free by supporting Governor Daniel McKee's Litter Free Rhode Island campaign. That the city encourages each of the residents of the city of Newport to join in taking the pledge by visiting litterfreeri.gov. And number 3, commits to fulfill our pledge through coordinating various events such as community cleanups. And be it resolved that upon passage of this resolution, it be sent to Governor of the state of Rhode Island, Daniel J. McKee. Do I have a second? Did I make a motion to approve? Okay. This resolution is basically pretty clear. I mean, this is to keep our city clean and to keep our state clean. And the governor is spearheading an effort, and his wife as well, Mrs. McKee, spearheading an effort in order to get people to be more involved in picking up litter, in not being, I don't know, what's the word? I just, I just have to say that there are times when I will walk the reservoir or walk down Broadway, and it's just like you see people just like leave like dog bags, or it's like it's incredible to me the things that people leave behind. And we do have city ordinances that require businesses to clean up their sidewalks, from the sidewalk to the street, and not sweep into the street. And we have ordinances where people are supposed to pick up their trash outside of their homes. So, I mean, I would like people to become more engaged in this. And of course, I'd like to also thank, there are certain community groups, and I think mostly of like the Off-Broadway Neighborhood Association that does monthly cleanups. And so I just want, this is an easy one to support, but thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 10, Councilor Romley. Would you like to start by just reading the resolve, and then we can get on the floor?
Actually, I'd like to make a motion to accept an exhibit into the record before
Okay,
going
second.
into this resolution.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All is in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried.
So the resolution that's coming up here,
You need to read the resolve.
Just start with the resolve, and we'll second it when we be on the floor.
all the resolves.
Just
Just
the last one, whichever one you want.
So the resolves on this resolution are that this city council requests of the city administration to provide options and costs to this council within 30 days to further mitigate the diminishment of beach amenities for the 2024 beach season. Such a plan should include consideration of mobile and trailer-based interim facilities to replace amenities being lost from demolition. A plan that includes a diversity of vendors, the acceleration of the portion of the demolition currently projected to encumber use of the Rotunda building, so that the space may be used for operations currently projected to displace the public use of the bathhouses, and other solutions as deemed necessary such that minimal diminishment of beach amenities occurs for the 2024 beach season. Be it resolved that the city council requests of the city administration work with the beach commission to develop a clear long-term plan for first-class facilities that can be removed from the beach in the event of severe ocean conditions, and develop a clear plan and timeline for the design, build, finance, operation, and maintenance of such facilities for the 2025 beach season. Be it further resolved that this city council requests the city administration include funding for beach replenishment as necessary for resiliency to protect critical infrastructure adjacent to the beach in the 2024 general obligation bond for consideration by Newport voters, and include in the capital improvement plan investments in the infrastructure needed to support adaptable and deployable structures to host beach amenities.
Ask for
Sec-
motion and second.
Motioned, right?
Yeah,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve.
Second.
All right.
Okay, so there's a lot to this resolution that we skipped over on the whereas. I have been profoundly disturbed by what has unfolded at Easton's Beach. I'm a freshman to this city council, so I haven't had the decade of history on what the city's done, what we haven't done. And I recently took a deep dive, and I had the opportunity to tour many of the closed buildings that we have over there, the carousel, the rotunda, and to look at the damage that has been done, over the last year that needs to be addressed. It was a very sad visit. Some of those buildings were clear to have been very grand at one point. The carousel is an amazing space. The top of the rotunda, which has been closed now for 3 years, an amazing space. And a lot of that is going away. There's some discussion in this resolution about beach resiliency and nourishment. And so I wanted to cover, before jumping into more details, what is beach nourishment? If we talk about that and budgeting money for it, what is it? What does it do? What can it do for us? And so we have a few brief slides here And is anybody else able to
Advance it.
advance this? We can move to the next slide. So what is beach nourishment? It's dumping a heck of a lot of sand back on the beach, sand that matches what you had. You either dredge it up with a barge from a few hundred feet out, or you have it trucked in. It is hundreds of thousands of tons of sand to make a difference. And those of you who have been around a long time in this community, you may remember Easton's Beach being a little bigger. And some days during high tide, when you drive by, I drive by almost every day, there may be a dozen feet of sand left at high tide. It is shrinking. Next slide, please. So what does beach nourishment mean? It means bringing back the beach. Many coastal communities get walloped by hurricanes and coastal storms, whether it's Long Island, whether it's North Carolina, Outer Banks, whether it's Virginia Beach, whether it's Florida. All of them who have tourist engine driven economies have plans for long-term beach resiliency and beach nourishment. What does that mean? Take a look at this beach here in Montauk. And this is a last 5-year project. You can see the part of it that's been completely eroded, and the nice big fat 200 deep part of it, 200 feet deep part of it is been replenished. That is what is possible. The Army Corps of Engineers has a particular expertise in beach nourishment. They are the ones who manage all of these projects nationwide, and they know what to do and they know how to do it. Next slide, please. Nags Head, North Carolina. You can see a beach that's been eroded to a tiny little sliver of sand and in process of being restored. Same thing. Next slide, please. Quite a dramatic picture of what can be done with beach replenishment here. And next slide, please. This is a really interesting before and after picture of beach replenishment. I'm going to draw your attention to the building on stilts on the left side, which looks like it's about 10 feet from the water. And the after is a nice healthy distance from the water. So this is what beach nourishment is. Next slide, please. And this is about 100-year-old photo of Easton's Beach. Look how deep that beach is. I mean, that is hundreds of feet deep. It's just not there anymore. So, as I've looked at this issue, I think what has disturbed me the most about where we've landed with Easton Beach is that we approved several weeks ago demolition of critical buildings that house amenities at the beach that people have come to love and use. The snack shack. The plan that we've been presented with so far has really been very binary. Our administration is dealing with very limited resources and limited budget. And, we were presented with a baseline plan that basically eliminated every remaining amenity at the beach. Gone. Food gone, bathhouses gone. The only thing left, bathrooms and enough space for each administration, lifeguards, equipment, things like that. The other end of the plan that we've been told is possible is, well, let's reconstruct what we're tearing down. And we've been told that's $30 million. That also is not a very palatable plan. And so the intent of this resolution really is to say, look, you've given us one plan that takes away everything and just leaves us with sand and bathrooms and depleting sand. And there's another option for full replenishment. Well, are there middle of the road options that use deployable trailers, containers, a lot of the same types of technologies and portable buildings that the construction industry uses, that the special event industry uses? We've all been to an outdoor wedding that had beautiful trailerized bathroom. We've all, seen construction trailers that are, nicely air conditioned and comfortable to work in. And so really, the first part of this request is to ask the administration to say, are there other options for us that we can deploy in the next year or 2 years, or whatever it is, that can bring back some of what we had at the beach for food service. And I love food trucks. I think they're a great solution. I'm going to support them at the beach, but I also think we need a permanent long-term food service solution there that doesn't depend on generators. The second piece of this, where we talk about long-term replenishment, these types of beach replenishment projects that we put up on the screen, these are $20 million projects, $30 million projects. They take 4 to 5 years just to plan and make happen. Thankfully, the federal government tends to cover 2/3 of them. But this is easily a 6 to 10, 15, $20 million project to replenish that beach and make sure we have it for another 50 years. This isn't the infrastructure. This is just the sand, right? This is just a place to go put your chair. And so what we're asking for here is that we scope that out, we understand it, and we make room for it in the general bond that the city is putting out there. And really the intent here for me personally, if we're talking about something that is an existential part of the fabric of our city, right? Are we a city with a beach, or are we a city with no beach? That's the question. I believe that is too big a question to be answered by this council. I believe that's a question that should be answered by the voters. And with the price tag that comes with replenishing this beach and nourishing this beach, the voters deserve to directly decide, do they want this? Do they want to pay for it? Personally, I'd be voting yes on that bond, and yes on beach nourishment and finding a way to fund it. But that really is the general intent of this resolution. And I can also comment a bit on how did we get here, right? I mean, I run a business. I have buildings to worry about. The idea of having something critical to my business disappear and not having a replacement or a plan lined up, it's foreign to me. And really, I would love to point a finger at some person, some body, some entity. This is decades in the making. There is no individual person. There is no individual city council. There is no individual administration. This is an issue decades in the making, where the city put nothing into that beach. These communities you see up here, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia Beach, they get walloped all the time. And they have figured out that every 5 to 10 years, they've got to replenish that beach. They've got to invest in that beach. They've got to set aside money for that beach. I think truly the root cause of why we have landed in this place where suddenly we have a beach that's disappearing under the waves and facilities that just aren't there anymore is a singular issue. It's the same issue I've been beating the drum on since I got this job. The city is broke, does not have enough money to do the things we need to do for infrastructure. And we have a structurally imbalanced source of revenue versus all the things we need to do to support this tourist economy and 5 million visitors. We need another $10 million in the city budget every year, and we got to get it from tourists. Okay, that's how we wound up here, is that the state of Rhode Island has not enabled the city to capture that revenue that we need from tourists. It goes back to them. We're working hard as a council to make changes and get the state of Rhode Island to give us the ability to tax tourists more. And I would say to the residents, if there's something you want to do to assist this project, call your local rep. Call your local state senator. Let them know Newport needs the money. That is why we are here. And that is why we have this unfortunate conflagration of events at the beach that just leaves us with terrible options at this point. I know this was a long-winded speech, but I've become passionate about this issue because I think Newport needs a beach. I know that the residents are passionate about this issue, and they should be given a choice. And this city council should also be presented with options and costs so that we can make a choice, at least on the short-term stuff, right? The trailers and the containers and the portable offices and things like that. Thank you.
Can you repeat
that?
Other comments and questions from the council? Councilor Napolitano.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I know about beach nourishment. And in Ocean City, Maryland, it's 5 million a year. 5 million a year. And they can only do a portion of the beach. Yes, there is money from the feds, but it doesn't cover it. You know, I think to embark on this, and I totally agree. I'm the only one that belongs to that beach. I want to see that. I would agree that we need a program. I'm not sure we can do it in 30 days, which is what the resolution said, to come up with the, you know, I'd like to give it a little bit more time. And I don't think it's due to total neglect either. They have been down the beach at various times and fixed different things. And when there's that renourishment of the beach, there's no guarantees. If you get hit with a bad storm and all of a sudden you lose that beach again, you know, they have to come right back in with the nourishment again. And that is what has happened in a lot of coastal towns. I think it's beautiful, the pictures you showed, but it's not one and done. It has to be done on a regular scheduled basis every 3 to 4 years, maybe. And if you get hit with a storm, you got to call them in and have them do it again. So it is a costly proposition. Certainly, I think it's something that we have to be aware of and have to know the numbers on it. But, you know, again, I do have a little bit of a problem with the 30-day.
Counselor, I'd
time
be
frame, you
happy
know?
to strike that.
I'm sorry, what?
I'd be happy to strike that.
Okay, all right.
Strike it to what, though?
Well, I mean, I think certainly with the limited staffing that we have, they need time to really research. Putting that 30-day time limit, I can appreciate it because we have a season coming up, but we do still have a beach. We just don't have the beach we want. You know, I do appreciate the resolution.
Counselor, would you like to suggest an alternate time frame as an amendment?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we strike the 30 days on that. And would I like to,
Recommend an alternative time frame.
I would say at least 60.
I'll second.
Thank
Comments or
you.
questions on the amendment? I just saw the amended time period. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, amendment passes back to the original resolution as amended. Councilor McCallum?
Thank you. I have a question for the city manager. Do we, so like we've talked a lot about beach beach nourishment and like which I think is definitely a big thing, and you don't have to go to Maryland or New York. There are other
Right.
municipalities here in the state of Rhode Island that are dealing with you know, are coming across the same issue in terms of preservation of our
Mhm.
beaches. And and so I'm just wondering, this resolution here calls for a long-term plan, right? Wait a
Mhm.
minute. So requests that city administration provide options and costs to mitigate the diminishment of the beach anemones. Okay. So what are we looking to plan around? Is it is it the natural landscape of things? And is there more?
I would interpret this resolution as a short-term element and a long-term element. The short-term element is give us a la carte menu of options and costs so that as a council, we can decide, do we really want to kill the bathhouses? Or do we want to spend a little money for a trailerized option that would prevent us from having to do that? Do we really want to have only food trucks, or do we want to have a more permanent food service location there? And I would say still trailerized, but very similar to what you may see at the Long Wharf Lobster Shack, right? Which is a big trailer. Hurricane comes through, they can pull it out of there, but it's permanently wired in and doesn't need a generator. So an a la carte menu of options with costs is the first part of this, and that's the short term. And let's recognize it likely isn't going to happen for 2024. Okay, so this resolution is likely, or I would say, aggressive in what we're asking for. But certainly, if we don't start now, 2025 will be lost to us as well. The second long-term piece of this is, at this moment in time, nothing in the CIP exists for allocating funds to long-term beach nourishment, and nothing exists for replacement of these facilities that we're taking down. The CIP, the capital improvement plan, typically stuff's in there for years before we get around to it, right? Sometimes 5 years, maybe 10. We still have nothing in there, and yet we're at the point where we're taking things down. So it's become clear to me that this is an issue that got overlooked for a little too long. And so it's really, for the long-term stuff, beach nourishment and longer-term facilities, give us the menu. Give us the menu option. What can we do and what will it cost? What this resolution does not do is bind us to actually spend any money or do anything. This is an informational exercise at this time.
Mr. Chairman?
Council Brown, sorry.
Excuse me, I did
Councilor
not yield
McCallum.
the floor. So, yes, to go back. So for the city manager, what have we done in terms of just calling for Easton's Point? And then I sort of have this question, like, we have our own beach commission too. Like, why do we need to pay for a plan? Because I'm just thinking, and to your point, Counselor, we are seriously underfunded in certain ways, and just thinking about fiscal responsibility and just weighing the trade-offs. I just want to know, like, why would we pay? How much would this plan cost? And like, I'm worried that we'd have a plan and we don't have money to actually finance it. And is this the right time, I guess?
Those are great concerns, Counselor. I don't think this resolution entails paying for a plan. I think it entails the administration deploying the resources it has to scope this out for us. And I agree with you on the finance side, but I'm not ready to write off the beach without seeing a menu of options and what they'll cost. And I don't feel, this is me speaking for myself, I don't feel that I have been presented as a city council member with a adequate range of options for us to decide on. We have only been presented with the most basic low cost approach, or the full ticket, replace everything as it was. And I'm not satisfied with either of those options.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that this would have no fiscal impact. We're just utilizing the resources that we currently have under our city administration. And that also includes our beach commission? Does that include?
They are in the resolution.
Okay, thank you for
Noted
that.
that we request the administration to work with them.
Thank you for that.
I do want to just clarify two things. One, the CIP actually includes $12 million, which was for a combination of the demolition. That bid came in and was awarded for just shy of 800,000. The rest of that money is related to the study, the modeling, the permitting, potential
To amend
partnerships.
this.
Of the nourishment. So I think then I misspoke. There is money in the CIP to study the issue, but we do not have a placeholder to actually perform the nourishment. Is that a more correct statement on the CIP?
It depends on how much all of it ends up costing. Right now, there's, so essentially $11.2 million left to do at least the preliminary stuff, and certainly we would
I have quite a
be looking for any kind of grants or aid that are out that might be available to deal with some of that as well.
Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? from the
Yeah, I
council?
have a question. On this resolution on the, let's see. The fifth, whereas private industry has developed many solutions for rentable and rapidly deployed trailer. Could you explain what private industry are we talking about?
Well, pretty much any industry that needs rapidly deployable, redeployable, or rentable containerized or trailerized space.
Okay,
Whether it's the construction industry with mobile offices, the event industry with mobile bathrooms.
okay. I see what I understand where you're going now with that. You know, trailers are very expensive, are they not? I mean, how much does it cost? I'm sure the city has looked into this as to in the past about trailer rentals. I mean, how much do you remember?
Well, I think that this is part of
It's like
the resolution is to come up with.
I know, but I think that we have some of this information already.
We will bring you some kind of information. It won't be,
Mm-hmm.
we'll not obviously have time to develop specifications and go out
Mm-hmm.
for any type of bid, but the initial estimates that staff has been getting is that it would cost approximately 86,000 for the season for one trailer that could handle the showers and the I, I, maybe the showers, the first aid. That does not include any electrical or utility hookups, which would have to be also paid for.
Mhm.
And obviously, we would have to remove some of the parking. But those, as I said, it's a very preliminary
Mm-hmm.
information, although the quote on the trailer was a legitimate quote.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair,
Council Holder?
I believe, so when we had this discussion 2 weeks ago, the plan that the beach commission brought in front of us, they said we still have the use of the showers and the bathrooms. So we wouldn't really need to replace those. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that was mentioned last time. Yeah.
Yes, the private bathrooms with the upstairs part of the bathhouses, those won't be available because that would be used for first aid, et cetera. But the public on the ground level, which would be the one that everyone uses.
Yeah, so if we went forward with, again, this is just far-fetched thoughts at this point, but if we had to turn to a trailer, so we would be able to have the bathhouses accessible. Would that be?
Yeah,
correct?
we're in the process.
If
we've
we
had a
didn't need them
couple
for the
of discussions
operations.
with Laura, Eric, and his team, and like we are literally
Mhm.
in the moment. The only hard number, hard number we have is the actual unit itself. But we're working with vendors now to come up with what they're going to cost to tie electricity into it. Because you need electricity, you need water, et cetera. So it's really a work in progress. So we start trying to discuss numbers out. I just think it could confuse the matter, but we're hoping to get something within the next 2 council meetings to you. If we can get it in 2, we don't think, but we think it'll be in the second meeting in April.
Okay. Council Carlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just 2 comments, and thank you to interim manager Citron for clarifying. I believe there was by consensus an elimination of the 25 million, Councilor Romley, in the capital improvement plan regarding potential replacement of amenities or replacement of physical structures that by approval of the contract at the last council meeting, we agreed to take down. But the 12 million, I thought, and Laura Manager Citron explained this well. The 12 million, for my clarification, is still by the same consensus in the capital improvement plan. About $1 million of which, 800,000 of which we have effectively spent by approving the contract. But as you said, the 11.2 that's left is left presumably for beach nourishment in its entirety.
Yes, but getting to that point will be a long process. At least 9 months of modeling, and then a minimum of a year with permitting and design and engineering. So, but yes, that's what that money was put in the CIP for.
Okay. That money that's in the CIP that we agreed by consensus to, is that financed by a potential bond, or is that financed by way of the FY25 budget?
It's a bond.
It is the bond. Okay. And I'll just close. I'll vote for this, but I'll just close by saying, I wish we had done this way before 2 weeks ago when we voted to tear down certain structures at the beach. This should have been done. Something like Councilor Romley's resolution should have been already in effect, if not for the last couple of years. We put the cart before the horse. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. I want to touch on this briefly. I think one of the most concerning things we heard at the last meeting was from the Beach Commission saying, we don't understand what it is that you want us to be doing on this. We need direction from you. And the reason why I signed on to this resolution is because I think this puts us in motion to give them clear direction. It gives a clear directive to administration to cooperate with them on coming up with a plan. What's very clear here is that the beach is a very, very important community asset. It's a very important community priority that we continue to maintain that. And there has to be a decision that exists somewhere between letting it continue to erode off as nature might normally set with its course, versus a full-scale reinvestment of what we imagine the beach to have been back in the day, or what it used to be. And as with any other investment we're making in this community, we need to be thinking about it through the lens of resiliency. So my support on this item is also through the lens of the importance of nourishment from a resiliency perspective for the other assets that exist immediately adjacent to the beach, the roadway linkage and the public drinking water supply that sits behind it. When it comes to facilities, some of the best constituent correspondence that I've ever received came as a result of this. And it was from people who have said, look, I've traveled around the country and I have seen examples of how other places in Florida and North Carolina have built adaptive reuses of facilities and structures that could be removed in the event of storms. We're talking about beyond just the trailable solutions, but actual structures that can be deconstructed and taken off each year, right? Thereby finding that balance of not setting something that could be washed away with each winter storm that comes through. And so I'm supporting this because I think as we look forward and we look at the approach that we're taking in other parts of the city, the innovation behind King Park, the elevating history work that was done, the work that is in process, and I'm hopeful for in the north end of our city with flood mitigation, that we need to be thinking about this important community asset through that same lens. I think that Councilor Romley captured this well in this resolution. I think that the amendment to a more reasonable timeline is very sage advice and well received. And that is why I'm supporting this item.
Mr. Chair, I just want to remind people that we started this conversation 3 years ago with a very public workshop that gave us a $30 million price tag. So this is not new to us. And the people who have worked at the beach all these years have known that this was happening, that the carousel could not operate, that the rotunda elevator keeps getting fried because of storms, and the storms just have gotten worse over the last 3 years. I mean, just what we had in December was terrifying for the beach. So, I mean, we've been dealing with this for a while. I mean, finally, you have to bite the bullet and do something. Yes, but this does not come out of a vacuum.
Additional comments or questions? Members of the public, yes. Thank you.
Rick Klafke. I'm Chair of the Beach Commission. So 2 weeks ago, I was here and I did say that we were really kind of not knowing which way to turn because of different input from different parties and different reactions to what was needed at the beach. And I'm really pleased that this resolution has come before the council, because I think it is the beginning of what is needed in order to reach a decision without going down so many blind holes before we get there. I think if everybody is accelerated in looking at something and they're having their input as we go, I think we're going to get there much faster and much better. But I also want to say on the timeline, I see the staff scrambling to get ready for the demolition, which has yet to happen and is going to be a big thing. Things are going to be in transition down there for this summer, and it's going to be a learning experience. We haven't had this before at First Beach, and it's going to be a lot of things that come to the fore that we haven't really experienced before. And so I think having this time period, we're going to find out a lot more about what we like and what we don't like about our food service this summer, and what we like and what we don't like about the way we're storing our equipment and the office structure. So I think we're going to get educated by this summer, and I think that'll help us also to reach a good solution here faster. But I do want to say that I think it was 2 years ago that the Beach Commission wrote to the council that the beach nourishment, in our view, had to be the #1 priority of anything having to do with the whole beach project, because it was really, beach nourishment is about preserving the beach itself, which, as the Beach Commission, is our thing. And it's also about Memorial Boulevard. It's also about the pond. So in our view, beach nourishment is absolutely critical to go forward. And, but we're also so glad to see this resolution come to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, let's move on.
And I'll just close out by saying it is extraordinary how much staff has been able to do down there, how much the Beach Commission has been able to do with the resourcing available, and we commend you for all of that work. There are no additional comments or questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay, amending chapter 2.56 of the codified ordinances entitled Boards and Commissions to amend section 256010 entitled General Provisions. This is a first reading. There's to delete paragraph 2.5610010 and add in lieu of, with the exception of the Affirmative Action Commission, Film Commission, the Sister City Commission, and the Tree and Open Space Commission, all members of boards and commissions must be registered voters in the city of Newport and reside in the city on a year-round basis. Do I I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I got a question. I mean, we don't have a film commission anymore, do we? And also the statute commission is also one that doesn't require a that we can, right? So, I mean, I think we need to go back and look at this a little bit more.
That's fine.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just curious, what's the purpose of this change in the zoning code? Just to give me some
The
background.
purpose is for the Sister City Commission to be able to have membership in it that in some cases from some of the hotels or other entities that don't necessarily live within the city of Newport, but their work in,
Right.
you know,
Thank you.
to promote this, with the new
Yeah, I want to.
complement of sister city members to encourage business and education and student type of environments.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
So, but I'd like to make a motion to continue this just so that we have a proper list of the um, commissions and boards that need to be on here, because I do not believe we have a film commission anymore. The statute commission, I believe, also does not require to be voter in Newport or reside full-time, so,
I'll second that.
okay.
Comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Council Carlin?
Question, not on the amendment necessarily, but in the context of the debate.
Mm.
I recall in 2022 with 4 members of this council, having served on the previous council, there was a public request from the Charter Review Commission that the Tax Appeals Board in the city of Newport allow non-residents of the city of Newport to join the Tax Appeals Board,
Mhm.
which suggested to me that obviously that is governed by the charter.
Mhm.
Why are we seemingly permitted to adjust residency requirements for these by ordinance and not by ordinance for the aforementioned Tax Appeal Board?
That was a fine question, Council Carlin. It looks like Solicitor Bean has the answer.
Because the tax appeals board is probably, I believe, the only board that we have that's addressed in the charter. And all our other ones are addressed in the ordinance, in our ordinances, or created by ordinance or resolution.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. Manager corrected me. The Trust and Investment Commission is also in the charter.
Additional comments or questions on the motion to continue? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item is continued.
Okay, motion to approve a communication from the Friends of the Newport Skate Park. Request approval of the proposed skate park plans.
Second,
Who wants to come up? You guys have been waiting for so long.
We're sorry that we've taken this long for you. We appreciate you sticking around. Then.
My name is Mike Richards. I'm one of the directors and president of Friends of Newport Skate Park. I'm joined tonight by a number of our other directors, Jay Johnson sitting back there, Don Barley joining me up here tonight, Sue Bruzy, Kevin Hyman, Tax Director Danielle Bruzy, the co-strategy Kevin DeMello. We've been working closely with Scott Wheeler, getting ready to break ground in May 2024. We've raised sufficient funds to build the full 20,000 square foot skate park. We just received approval from the interlocal trust. I kind of want to end this with an ask when it has to do with that interlocal trust, but I want to wait to the end. We're working with the Department of Utilities on a stormwater management plan. They've come back with small changes. We've made those changes. So I don't want to say they've approved our wastewater management plan, but that's the direction we're going. Scott Wheeler's been great to work with, and we hopefully get your blessing for the design today so that we're going to get some clearing done over April, and come May, the skate park builders will be here. We'll break ground and build our city's skate park. So if there's any questions from you guys, I'm happy to field them. We're working with the city administration. They've been great, and we're really just looking to them to tell us what the process is and have them guide us through that process.
Mr. Chair, this is fantastic. I mean, I'm so happy this 20-year journey is finally coming to fruition. There have been some questions about a fund for repairs, and I know that there is one in here. I just want you to state publicly that there is going to be money put away for.
Yes, there will be. So we start with the maintenance is pretty low on these types of parks. These complete cement parks are essentially a very fancy sidewalk. So the maintenance is low. As far as insurance premiums go for the city, Scott Wheeler informed me today, so we're looking at like a $1,500 increase of premium with that skate park. And Friends of Newport Skate Park has offered up the amount of $20,000 to be kept in a fund with the city once the park is built. The city right now is holding $70,000. It's all earmarked for the building of the park. 50,000 of that will be used through the bidding process to get steel and coping and things we need for the park. But we'll just leave that $20,000 behind so that the city has those funds for ongoing maintenance. And of course, Friends of Newport Skate Park is now just starting to talk about with our membership what we are after the build. As we continue to be a steward for this park, we have all the infrastructure there to continue to raise money and to help activate even third parties coming to the table that need to raise money, that need that 501c3 nonprofit arm. And I think the membership is going to shift once this is built to become a long-term steward of the park.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
Mr. Chair, I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you guys for your diligence and your hard work you put in for so long. I knew once, though, about, was it 2 years now, that we approved the park, that you guys weren't gonna have any problems getting the money, and I was right. So I think, on behalf of myself and all the native Newporters that I've known growing up, skating down at the Water Brothers down by the beach, I want to thank you guys. This is going to be an amazing addition to Newport.
Thank you. We do have, I guess we'll call it one favor, one ask from Friends of Newport Skate Park that has to do with the interlocal trust. I'm going to start and I'll let Donnie finish. We started this process in 2019, took representatives of the interlocal trust up to the Quincy Family Park in Boston, showed them the scope of park that we wanted to build, and really communicated with them the importance and the community stakeholders' desire to build full-size, 9-foot deep bowl. Well, fast forward to 2024, we had their assurances back in 2019, I'd say soft confirmations that, yep, everything looks fine. You'll probably get that. They came back last week and approved an 8-foot deep bowl. It seems like a negligible difference, but for this park to be everything it can be, we would still love to have that 9-foot bowl. We will graciously accept 8 feet. We've done what we can to advocate, but if there's anything the city can do and the administration can do, because you are the parties of that insurance contract with the interlocal trust, it's really not our business to be asking them to change their rules. But if there's anything the administration can do or city officials can do to somehow convince the interlocal trust that a 9-foot bowl is not going to make any difference as far as liability goes, but it does make a difference as far as how great of a park this goes. And I just want to let Donnie Barley, pro skater, kind of comment on that too, so you guys get the understanding of our ask. So thank you so much for having all of us tonight. We'll let Donnie finish up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.